Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. I gotta tell you, it's really exciting. We've gotten to 100,000 subscribers and blown right past that, and I have to thank everybody out there for being part of the conversation. And most importantly, I want to thank my dad, who has been a real big supporter through this whole thing, and I couldn't have done it without you, so thanks, Pop. Well, don't forget to follow us on Twitter every day and also to get into draftstreet.net's really great weekly fantasy where it's free to sign up and you can win some money. And we're going to have a really cool thing where you can try and beat me every week in the fantasy draft. So don't miss that. Link below. Let's talk a little bit about the Pelicans versus the Warriors because it was a great game, and I think that the Pelicans are on their way with some really good young talent, and we will reserve a breakdown for sure of Anthony Davis, so stay tuned for that, but I'll show a little bit what he did last night because it was great, but I want to make sure we spend a lot of time on him coming up in the future. So a lot of things to go over, and here it is. Of course, KlayThompson got all the headlines with great numbers in the box score, like this gorgeous elevator play out of Horns. Thompson gets the typical screen from Curry in the corner, curls, and then the two high post players close the doors, leaving Holiday in the basement. And Curry also got a ride in the elevator, this time towards the sideline with a simple cut into the lane and break back out for the short corner three. And Jermaine O'Neal also had some impressive numbers, even though his footwork was less than stellar. Watch how he takes 3 steps after picking up his dribble, yet doesn't get called for the travel. Our friend Alfredo Rodriguez has been doing some interesting analysis on things that don't get measured in a typical box score, like deflections and contesting shots. This is something all teams do internally, but not enough people on the outside get to see this. It took me one glance at his spreadsheet to see who really did the work in this game: Draymond Green. Going back to the typical box score, you also see he had the highest plus-minus, and here's why. He kept making defensive plays all over the place, like this perfect block of a player in Ryan Anderson, who's 3 inches taller than him. Then watch in transition how he hustles back down and gets right into the flow with a simple cross in front of Curry. This creates a switch that Curry can take advantage of. These are 2 points that Green created, but gets no credit for. And during a big 12-3 run for the Warriors, a simple opportunistic double of a wild drive by Tyreke Evans forces a travel. Again, something great that doesn't show up in the box score. While the Warriors get incredible movement on most of their half-court sets, isolating in the post is simply not a great look for them. Incredibly, the Warriors post up as much as they spot up, and while they're killing it with the outside shot, they're pretty bad while posting up. Here's a good example of how the offense stagnates once David Lee goes to work in the post, where he ranks in the 28th percentile. On this play, Mark Jackson calls for an O'Neal isolation post-up. It's a shame to see all the gorgeous movement they normally get come to a screeching halt as everyone stands around watching a guy ranked in the 27th percentile try and score. I feel the only way O'Neal should be getting looks is out of the flow of their offense, where Steph Curry can create the openings for him going to the hoop after a pick and roll. So let's move to the crucial part of the fourth quarter. With Bogut serving a suspension, the Warriors had no rim protection. While Tyreke breaks off this play, which is supposed to be a flare screen to the corner for Holiday, he isolates on Harrison Barnes, blows by him, and David Lee is completely ineffective as a help defender. Anthony Davis is so good, he deserves his own breakdown. Until then, watch how mobile he is and how he uses his long arms to force a great ball handler like Curry into a turnover. The Pelicans run a simple high screen and roll, but Eric Gordon doesn't set his man up and use the Anderson screen properly. The design of this play is to force Anderson's man to help on the roller, opening up a 3-point shot. Since Holiday turns his back on the play, Barnes doesn't have to bump Davis, and now the play is broken, and Holiday has to create for himself. Good defense, better offense. Inexplicably, the Warriors again go away from their high-octane offense to isolate David Lee in the post. Completely stagnant, no hope for an offensive rebound. So teams are now adjusting a little bit to ice defense with the pick and roll. They try to set the screen closer to the lane line, and if they can sneak in a pocket pass to the screener, there's not too much you can do. Golden State goes back to motion with Klay getting a down screen, then double ball screen across the free throw line. Good hedge by Anderson, but this play gets exactly what the Warriors want: O'Neal posting up Drew Holiday. Here's where maturity comes into play a little bit. This is supposed to be an Anthony Davis ball screen, which had just worked great. But Davis opts to fake the screen and cut backdoor for a completely risky lob, and Tyreek takes him up on it. While it would have brought the house down had it worked, this is not what you do when you're down 2 points deep into the fourth quarter against a good team. And it's important to maintain defensive discipline at all times, but especially in the fourth. In this game, the Pelicans kept having the screener's man hedge high, forcing the other defenders to rotate. Holiday is in good held position, but once the ball starts to swing, he must sprint right to Klay in the corner, not try and go for the ball. That's all the daylight Klay needs from the corner. The Pelicans come right back down and execute a high screen and roll beautifully. Anderson slips the ball screen while David Lee hedged high, which is a bit out of character for the Warriors defense. While I understand why Klay would help on an Anderson three, ideally he would have just jabbed his foot at him with the express purpose of heading back to his man, hoping David Lee could get there in time to bother the shot. Instead, it opens up a Drew Holiday swish. Again, the Pelicans play ice halfway, with Eric Gordon forcing the ball handler away from the inside screen, but watch Anthony Davis come out high on the perimeter. In typical ice, he'd be hanging back near the lane where he could then close out softly on David Lee. Instead, the defense must go to full scramble, where Lee has his pick of driving to the basket or kicking to Curry for a wide open three. Now it's the Pelicans' turn to take our favorite set horns and create a backscreen out of the initial pick and roll. David Lee is supposed to get in Davis's way, but he's too much of a beast. So the Warriors come down and do another variation of pick and roll, this time hitting the mid-post before dropping off a fantastic pass to O'Neal rolling. Gordon makes a great defensive play, and the refs miss both a double dribble when O'Neal dribbles with both hands, and a travel when he takes 3 steps after picking it up. The Pelicans rise to the occasion with some great defense, taking away the Klay curl. Davis forces David Lee to catch the ball much farther than he wanted to. On the weak side, Golden State creates an opening when both players rush to Klay, but Lee either can't or won't make that pass around Anthony Davis. With 9 seconds left, Klay rushes a bad Dirk leg. The Pelicans run the Spurs' hammer play by setting a flare screen on the weak side for Eric Gordon in the corner. Watch how David Lee covers for Curry nicely, forwarding the shot, and the play breaks. Tyreek isolates on Barnes, who does his job to force the miss. But Jermaine O'Neal does not do his job of putting a body on a unibrow who's in beast mode. While there wasn't much incentive for the Warriors to get a 2-for-1 here since they were ahead, can you hear me shaking my head over this stand around and watch old man O'Neal try and fail to score in the post? Big props to Monty Williams for not calling a timeout here and letting his players figure out how to win this game on their own. On the weak side, Curry and Barnes both help in the lane. They only need one of them, so this becomes a failure to communicate. As a result, Holiday throws a perfect pass for a perfect shot, and Gordon barely misses. So there you have it, sports fans. I want to make sure that Draymond Green gets his props because so much of what guys like him do never appear in the box score, and they're vital to a team winning, especially in a close game like this. So don't think that the plays earlier in the game mean nothing, because they do, especially as the game gets tighter and tighter. It's the process you must stick to if you're going to pull out these games out, especially on the road. Well, thanks for joining us. Again, 100,000 subscribers is nothing to sneeze at. It's a huge monumental achievement. Pretty soon we're going to be in the top 100 in the world in sports. Again, thanks to everybody out there for being part of the conversation, and keep doing it on Twitter and Facebook and Google+. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?